Hey everyone. Today we're going to talk a little bit of Avs, a little bit of Nuggets, but we're going to talk mostly about the Broncos, some draft stuff, and some playoff outlook potential things. So stick with us, and we will be right back.
Yo, welcome to the show. Let me set the scene. Mile High Sports Symposium, living the dream. Broncos in the house with that orange and blue. Nuggets making moves, watch that altitude crew. Avalanche bringing ice, check the skills they display. Rocky swinging bats, ready for game day. Rapids in the mix, kicking it with style. Buffs bring the heat, put the rivals on trial. Out talking JJT, they got the scoop. Mile High vibes, feel that energy rise. Sports on the menu, watch the crowd mesmerize. From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am JT Matthews here with my co-host, the Dr. Nicholas Manning. Doc, happy Wednesday. We are back. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Weather's like it's 50, sun out.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. How are you?
I am good. I've been fighting sickness this week. I am still not 100%. I'm a little low energy, so if it comes across, apologize. But, I am trending upwards, I think. It's more like, I don't know. I went and picked up the kids from school, and the walk to the school and then back to my car was like, I was like sweating. I was like, okay, I'm still not quite there yet,
Yeah, that's fair. Would you say that you were down with the sickness?
Yeah, not in a cool way, though. In like the least cool way, probably.
Okay. Just trying to think of like some other stupid thing. Well, I'm glad that you know what? You got to sweat it out. Sometimes being uncomfortable helps you get through it a little faster, lean in, blah, blah, blah. That's what I did all through college.
Mm-hmm.
After I went and played basketball in the morning time. Just didn't matter if I was yakking up bricks.
Sweat it out, man.
Sweat it out. Go take a nap. Do it all again.
Yeah, we're trending that way for sure. Got band concert tonight, choir concert tomorrow for the kids. So life does not slow down when you're sick. It just keeps on rolling. No. So you got to either get with the program or just hop off the train. But right now we're back on the rails at least.
Yeah. Chew, mother, and chew.
Yeah. No kidding.
That's what you gotta do.
That's what you gotta do.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. Let's I know that people really wanted to know about our phlegmness, but where do we want to start? We want to start Avies? Want to start Nuggets? Before we do, though, please make sure you go like, subscribe, comment for the algorithm, all that good stuff. Definitely make sure you're subscribing to the Orange and Blue Network on YouTube. Follow the network over there on the Twitter, and then follow us and the pod individually because we appreciate you.
Yeah, let's.
That was my.
No, I like it. Let's start. Let's start Avs because I don't know that there's a whole lot to talk about.
Okay.
Avs lost in a shootout last night to the Predators. It's kind of a weird shootout. Wedgwood was in goal.
Mm-hmm.
He got run over by Forsberg. I think it was Philip Forsberg ran him over, and then he got pulled, put into concussion protocol right before Gabe was taking the last shot. It was just kind of a bizarre scene, but ultimately the Avs lost. But they score with under 10 seconds left in the game, puts them into overtime. You continue your point streak. They're just kind of continuing to roll. Gavin Brindley was pulled off IR, so that's good. We'll see him again soon. I don't know that there's a lot of notes except for, the Stars are kind of creeping up on the Avs. They're only 2 points behind. Surprisingly, for as good as the Avalanche are doing, the Stars are hanging.
Yeah, I mean that's the part that it's interesting. That's the like, of course it's them, of course it's the
Right.
effing Stars. I mean, since we're on though, I do think that they have a regulation loss since we potted last. So they are they're only 7-1-2 over the last 10, while the Stars are 8-0-2. Hence the ground gained. That said, let's all remember though, the Avalanche are +9 in goals for, and -10. So they have given up 10 less goals while playing one less game. So their differential is still 20 goals difference. So the Stars playing damn good hockey, 21-5-5. But that's also why the 1 seed, like getting that 1 seed, matters so much. I think to this team right now, because if they're going to lose to Dallas, or not lose, take that back, rewind, reverse, whatever we got to do. When we see the Stars again, it's going to be in, the second or third round. No more first roundies. No more 5 matchups. We're gonna get who we're gonna get when we need to get them, and not any time before. So excited about that. You gotta give it to the Stars, man. They're a good team. We knew that. They kind of came out of the block a little bit slower, and then really have turned it up. But you knew that they were going to be good, and so I think, to believe that the Avalanche are just going to be able to win the cup without anyone having any say about it, I think is obviously was not feasible. One thing I think just to even mention is like they didn't look good yesterday or last night. I think they didn't, even over the last couple of games, and still managed to be able to get a point yesterday. Didn't look that great against the Rangers for some of it. And against Philly, I think we're watching this team still rack up points, knowing that it doesn't feel like they're playing like playoff intensity over the last few weeks. Because we saw that when they came out of the gate. This is a team that's pretty determined. Like, I think they came out and were like, we're not messing around this year. And the fact that there's even kind of this lull, which you would expect to happen when you're 2 months in, now you got bump and bruises, guys are nicked up a little bit. Holidays are coming up, all the things that probably, human beings have to deal with also, even though they play hockey. And they're still racking up points, right? They're still finding ways to win when they, or even getting a point when their goalie gets concussed. It's cool to see, and it kind of coincides a little bit with, maybe some of the Nuggets to a degree, especially as of late, but the Broncos, right, where it's like they just keep figuring it out. And, I think that the Avalanche maybe or they've earned maybe more of a positive view in the upper echelon, but they were bouncing the first round just like the Broncos. Right. And for all of the talent that they have on paper over the last several years, it has not produced in Western Conference Finals appearances, even let alone Stanley Cup finals appearances. And so with that, I think the grit to appreciate. I feel like we talk about this every week, that's the part that I really appreciate about this group that's been different since really the cup run. And I think, I don't know what you would attribute it to. I think Brock Nelson is one of those guys, but I think having the captain back to, set the tone, and the fact that he's contributing is more of a routine presence in the stat sheet, I think goes a ton, but not worried even about the slip ups, not really worried about Dallas in terms of, I think that this team, I think if Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon and Gabe Landeskog are on this team, which they're not going anywhere in this, I think this year, I can't see it. And Of course, I always reserve the right to change my opinion with new information.
Right.
But even at their worst, they're 7-1-2 in their last 10.
Right.
You know, like it's bonkers, man. And I'm appreciating all of it. All of it.
Yeah. It's just, I think you're to a point in the season where you're just kind of settling in. You're on the road. They're just coming off a road trip. I think it's just one of those, scenario. You're kind of putting your best foot forward, but it's a long season, and so I think that's kind of where we are with this team. It is odd. I did read something that the top line offense and defensive pairing played like almost 40 minutes yesterday's game, so I'm not sure why they're playing so many minutes with a team that that I feel like is pretty deep.
Yeah,
it's an interesting choice by Bednar,
especially against Nashville, who's
you're right.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. Something to keep an eye on. Maybe Bednar doesn't trust the depth as much as we think he should, or maybe it's a sign that they may be looking elsewhere come trade season time. We'll see. But nothing to really complain about with this team. You've got a lead in your division. You are holding off the Stars for now. I think that'll eventually, even if you get overtaken at some point, it's gonna come up. You're gonna play each other probably in the face-offs or at the playoffs at some time, and it's gonna play out how it plays out. But right now, continue to grind, continue to get points on the road, come home and handle business, and put yourself in the best position possible to win home ice for the playoffs. And that's what seems like they're willing to or are working on doing right now.
Yep. Yeah. And I think we'll check back in after the Olympics. I think that will be how they come out of the gates after the Olympics. To me, is kind of the next checkpoint, because that could either be another catalyst based on how that goes for everybody, or there's injuries, or just wear and tear. But I think really outside of that, got to feel really good about where this team is.
Yeah. And Nathan McKinnon is on pace for like 138 points on the season. So
pretty good. And pretty good.
I think he's got 49 points through 28 games or something like that. So
I think he picked the right sport.
I think so.
Yeah. If he sticks at it, he might, one day he might amount to.
He might be a decent player.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk Nuggets. Again, not a ton to talk about here. I kind of feel like we're in the same place with both these teams winning. Not always pretty games, but beating teams that you should beat. Interesting that this team, I think they've got 10 in a row on the road that they've won. I think only one loss on the road total in their other 5, I think, or 4.
They're 11-2 on the road, 6-4 at home.
Okay. So 2 losses on the road. I guess the question, I've 2 specific things I want to touch on, and that are kind of more small details with the Nuggets. I just think, enjoy the Nuggets, enjoy watching Jokic, even with guys out of the lineup. He's cooking. Jamal Murray is looking like an all-star this year. I think that's a huge thing for this team. When you have 2 guys go down that are starting caliber guys, your top 2 dogs kind of have to carry, and they've been carrying, which is nice. Any worry about the struggles winning at home, quote unquote struggles winning at home compared to the road? What does that tell you about this team, if anything? Let's start there.
Yeah, what does it tell you? I don't think it's not nothing. Especially because their losses at home are against the Mavericks, against the Kings, against the Bulls, and against, where's my last one? Where are you? Help me out here, please. Oh, come on. How long ago was it? Dear goodness gracious. Against the Tim? Nope. I don't know where the other one is, but they're not impressive losses. The Mavericks, they ran out of gas, against the Spurs at home.
Yeah, without Wembanyama and Castle.
But I think the last two, just to be able to look, those are against the Kings. So their last three home losses, so since November 22nd, giving up 128, 139, and 131. That would be where my concerns are. You should be able to win scoring 136, 121, and 123. Averaging 40 a quarter. You should be able to pull out a dub. So that part, I think, worries me. That said, the guys that they're missing are their best defensive players, or at least two of the strongest, if not on the team in the NBA, in Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown. And then, Jamal got hurt in was it the Spurs game? Or was it the Mavericks game?
Yeah.
At one of the losses.
Is Mavericks. I think it's Mavericks.
Mavericks, yeah. And so I chalk it more up to that. I think I would be shocked, when come play the Rockets, especially Rockets, the Magic, the Rockets again. It's a weird and then the Jazz. We get a little bit of some home cooking after this last road game against the Kings, who for some reason we play the Kings like 9 times in the first 2 months every year.
Right.
And if they don't end that 3-1, at least something like that 4-game homestand, then I might be a little worried. I think if you don't, Denver has a really good crowd, and with the altitude, there's just built-in advantages, and to not lean into it or to not really be producing. I think there's something to be said about it. Maybe they're tightening the grip too much. They, something to kind of examine if you're Adelman. But I don't think that will be a problem for the season. I think we've had a couple years ago or a few years where they maybe have struggled out of the gate at home, and then you rip off 10 in a row, and then all of a sudden your home record looks pretty dang good again. And I would assume it's going to be a little bit like that. I think, especially with the heater that Jamal's on, playing in front of the home crowd too. I think him playing well, he's the guy that really feeds off that. He's a crowd. He's kind of a crowd appeaser guy, and to kind of get your bearings on the road, be in the villain a little bit, and then return back home, playing your A game. I think, especially for a guy like him who has been beaten up in the press, especially in the Denver area, by the fan base for not really being being to his full capabilities. I think that they'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think that you have seen a kind of drop off in defense, and I think, like you said, it kind of has to do more with the personnel that's injured right now. You're still seeing growth from Spencer Jones and Peyton Watson. I think there's a lot of variables that go into why that defense has dropped down. I also think that Jokic, to be honest, looks like he's kind of playing a bit nonchalantly. It looks he's taking a lot of threes. He's not working the paint quite as much as he usually does, at least from a post perspective. So I think that it's part of, again, just where we are in the season, staying fresh, staying healthy. Jokic is working with that wrist that's been a little bit sore, and so just kind of getting back to a healthy place for him, maybe taking it a little bit easy on some of these matchups that aren't necessarily like conference matchups, or may not mean much towards the end of the season, to take a loss against a road team like that's out of your that's in the East, something like that. Yeah. But it's just it's an interesting place to be. I want to kind of get your feel for, okay, we're about 30 games into the season. Should the Nuggets do anything, or what do you think that they should do with Peyton Watson coming into, we're coming into Christmas? He's a player that I think is valuable. I think he's a player that helps your team win a championship this year, but I don't know if he's a player that you're going to be able to bring back long term. Do you think that they need to hold on to him and hope for the best? Do you think that they need to do something in the trade market, get some assets or value for him? What's on Peyton Watson's situation? liked they want him to be, as far as they've kind of been putting him in more scenarios where he's initiating the offense. I don't know that I like him in that role. Obviously, we know he's a good defender. He's been lights out shooting from the three, from the corners, but I don't know long-term what that means for him. I don't know what long-term what that means for this team. That's the other piece I wanted to hit on before we move on.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if he could be a part of the team moving forward. I do think you have to, this is a little bit of our Miko conversation last year. If you can get long-term pieces back that help you remain in your championship window, I think you have to be willing to look at that. Partly because I don't necessarily think Peyton Watson is the difference between this team winning a championship and not. He could be a huge factor in it, but I don't think that he is a linchpin, and I think Miko, and to kind of correlate those two, just to give some example, right? I think was a much better player and relied upon when the Avalanche dealt him and were able to compete for a Stanley Cup last year with that move, and then it set them up, I think, in a better spot to retool for this year.
Yeah.
I think Peyton Watson is not of that ilk. And so I think if you can get, if you are miles apart on what a contract will look like, or the lack of desire from the organization to shell out what it would cost Peyton Watson to stay.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Peyton Watson is interested in staying, right? Like,
right.
I think that money is going to be it, but he probably wants to start and play. And so, I wouldn't fault them if they don't, because it probably means that the value, even like you gotta really feel good about it. I don't think you sell pennies on the dollar,
right?
Because even whoever you get back, the way that this roster is contributed, at best is going to be a solid bench player. So, I don't know what you'd have to feel like you're getting something back, or that will help you continue to strengthen the roster moving forward. But I don't know that I feel so strongly about Peyton Watson that if they dealt him, that I would be upset. I think I would definitely want the juice would have to be worth the squeeze to kind of take from a championship roster right now. And especially if they didn't add a vet or, someone that could contribute, that's contributing minutes right now. That part, I think I would probably have some feels about. You trade him for 2 seconds, and and Zeke Nazi's twin. Not going to feel great about that. That, I think I would be upset. I would be shocked if they did something like that. But you've seen teams do weirder stuff to not get in the aprons and do those things. So What do you think that he will be here after this season? And how do you feel about that before we talk about the foosball about that?
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about it. So the problem is, I think what you run into is, I don't think you have the cap. If you keep him, you don't really have the cap space to really sign him to anything substantial long-term. I think he's a great insurance piece for Aaron Gordon, pretty banged up the couple of years. But with trading him is that he doesn't make very much. And so you're not getting rid of much cap, hit. You're not really bringing back anyone of equal contract that is really playable to the same level that he is. I think, 100%. Maybe you could find someone that you like that can play point guard or something. I think that if you traded him, it would be really that helps you accomplish what you want to accomplish this year. So right now, I would think that maybe they hold on to him, let him play it out this season, see what happens, and then try and negotiate in the summer. But I don't know that the future of Peyton Watson's with the Nuggets. And so I am just trying to grapple with that piece in my mind. What could they do to retain him? What does that mean? If they do retain him, what does that mean for Aaron Gordon? Those sorts of things. Because really you're kind of slotting him into that position, or maybe you play him in Cam Johnson spot in 2 years. But I don't know that he necessarily wants to sit another 2. He is young still, which is, there's appeal to hold on to him because he still has to develop. But I don't know that I have confidence to turn into a great offensive player. I think he'll be a great wing defender. He'll be a guy that you can count on as like a 6th guy. But right now it's I think you just got to roll with this crew and see what happens in the offseason. That's the only thing I can really kind of wrap my brain around, unless for season you feel like you need draft assets to get someone, but then you got to flip some contracts somewhere. Maybe you think Cam Johnson wasn't a great fit, something like that. But it's a difficult position for them to be in, I think, with a young player that has some upside. Hopefully soon.
I agree.
I don't know. I think this Cam I've got is just old and the drivers don't work. And so I've got to figure something out, but money's a thing. So I got to figure it out, but we'll get there. Someday you'll get my face back. I was trying to use my phone for a while. It was just audio was not good. We'll get it figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get there. We'll
get there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Payne Watson's going to be there. I doubt that they make a move. I think if anything, again, it's a Chris Paul signing. It's a buyout. Addition, that kind of thing. And to be honest, I think that that's all they need to do. I think this team really does have everything that it's going to take, barring, everyone injury. It's assuming everyone gets back full strength in front of the the playoff beginning. If for some reason people, maybe Aaron Gordon comes back and there's a need maybe in the back court, I could see maybe they go get a stronger backcourt option, moving, Brown to kind of play a little bit more of the small 3 because you really need something like that. But I think that this roster is what you got, and I think it's pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a winnable roster for sure. It just is more about the future, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
All right, we're going to transition to football. We got a little bit of time to talk about.
Yeah. Before we do, though.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a number of shows on the Orange and Blue Network that you should be tuning into. Obviously, All Mountain Time. You've got Mondays and Fridays at 11. You've got Orange and Blue Blitz. Broncos Bros Mondays at 7 p.m. Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Of course, ourselves at 2:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. You've got Broncos Talk. Mile High Outcast Thursday at 7 p.m. You've got our Spanish show, Viva Los Broncos, Fridays at 6 p.m. Of course, you've always got Fresh Squeeze, breaking news. If breaking news does occur, a pod will happen pre-game, play-by-play, and post-game on game days, every game day. You've got Get Bucked, The Bucking Booth, and Buck Your Feelings. All great shows, all programming. We'll cover Broncos pretty much every day of the week and talk about all of the ins and outs of this team. And great host, great network. Always give us support if you can. Please thumbs up, subscribe on YouTube. We're keep on rolling with the coverage, and we just something we love to do.
Nailed it. And with that, again, go get you some Dubby. Here's all no sugar, no calories, no whatever that stuff is, as well as no fillers or artificial colors. Again, it's one of those things, if you can't pronounce it, don't put it in your body. And if you do so, which you should, use our code OBN10 for Orange and Blue Network, or Bumnix 10. That's number 2 for 10% off. Go check it out. Do yourself a favor. If you're like us, caffeine is a requirement to get through the day. Get you some good stuff. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we
transition.
talk Broncos.
Let's do it.
Hey, raise your hand if your team has the best record in the NFL. Thank you. Okay, I just wanted to be able to do that. I'm doing that with my kids all week.
You can't see it, but
it's super great to watch my kindergartner. You know, like anytime I can get her to be excited to like raise her hand, like she's important, shouldn't take it. So I've nailed that home. And so even yesterday, she's like, "Dad, aren't the Broncos the best in sports?" Yes. Where did you hear that from? Because I've been nailing it home that the Broncos are the best team in the NFL and making you raise your hand, even though, you're playing with dolls and stuff. So with that, though, I think first, before we talk about the Broncos and the games and all the stuff, we want to talk about what might never happen, but it could happen.
Right.
JT and I are draft nerds at heart. We love the process, love the event, love it, and want to talk a little bit about, the Broncos are in a championship window with them locking up Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, Pat Surtain. Really, like your young talent
Wattenberg
is kind of secured. Yeah, Wattenberg, Roach. There aren't many holes. That said, there are. You can't or maybe shouldn't sign everybody. And so the draft is and always will be kind of the lifeblood of an organization. A team that drafts well competes long term. Right. So you saw that with the 2017 Saints. You get Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Alvin Kamara, Trey Hendrickson, all in one draft. It can flip a team from mid-level competing to perennial Super Bowl contender, and you've seen it at least with this team, right? You got Jonathan Cooper, 7th round pick, is now one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Nick Bonito ended the 2nd round, now one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Take Pat Surtain instead of Justin Fields, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good now. Riley Moss, even, late 3rd round pick, and is a adequate, strong starter. And that's just kind of the defensive side of the ball. And so super excited to be able to talk about that a little bit. How do you want to kick it off, or where do you want to start before I go off the rails here? GTZ, first easy.
Sorry, it's Wi-Fi is a little weird right now, so I don't know if it's you or me, but
right, you. Where do you want to start?
I think we're a little bit better now. So I think we can talk about positions of need, positions the Broncos should be looking at. And I think we'll start there. What do you think the top position of need for the Broncos is going into the new season next year? I know, again, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we love the draft talk. Where would you be targeting right now to improve this team?
Yeah, well, I think part of the conversation has to be where we think they're going to draft from.
Right.
I think we all, and hopefully to our excited degree, believe that the Broncos are going to finish at the back end of the 1st round. So with that assumption being the key, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our little depth chart from our friends over at Our Lads. Do you think that that's how they say it? Do you think they go full like Scottish?
I think so.
I think so.
I hope they do.
So. We're going to assume that they do because it is better for, I mean, if you don't, Our Lads, if you're watching, which of course you are, what else would you be doing on a Wednesday afternoon? Please do us all a favor and create a promotion using that accent. So, all right. So we looking at the Broncos offense. Portland's under contract for a while. Troy Franklin is a 4th round pick under 2 more years of team control after this. Marvin Mims has another year. Pat Lynchy signed. Evan Ingram got for another 2 years, or another year. And obviously RJ Harvey, Bodix. So outside of really left guard, and I think because Ben Powers is still under contract, so that could be an opportunity to move on from Ben Powers, save some money, bring back Alex Palczewski on a restricted free agent deal. You got a little bit of leverage there, so you could do that. But I think interior offensive line, at least depth there would be important, as well as long-term backup tackle, because I think if Palczewski doesn't get rewarded with or an opportunity to start at left guard moving forward, I don't think he's going to settle for a swing tackle. I think he's a really good player, and I think he can start in this league. And so then with that, you drafted Savion Jones, but you don't know what you got there yet. And right now, John Franklin Myers appears to be on his way out. He's playing really well, which means the Broncos probably aren't being able to afford him. Alex Singleton is an unrestricted free agent. And then that's it, really. Jaquan is a restricted free agent. Probably tender him at a second round, which means about $3.5 million. So he'll probably be back for one more season. So you really are you're really set up. So Strenad and Alex Singleton, impending free agents. My bet would be they'll bring in a vet. So inside linebacker, I think defensive line help is always a need. I think tight end, running back, and offensive line, I think are impending needs. I want to say wide receiver, but really they're so deep that you'd have to get a guy that's that is a bona fide ace. I think if you get another pretty good contributor like Pat Bryant or Troy Franklin, who both could still pop, I think the floor of the room is good, but you're not really changing the fortunes of the organization. I think maybe that's something that you can do in free agency. You get a vet on a 1-year deal to kind of come in and be a boss. So those are mine. I would really like them to address all of those are positions that you don't draft that early. Ideally, you're not drafting tight ends in the first round, running backs in the first round, interior offensive linemen in the first round, inside linebackers in the first round. So that I think is the crux of the challenge then is, do you get aggressive and move up in the first round for a tight end like Sadiq, who really is like the only one that is a first round guy for me? Inside linebacker, let me talk about some of those, but I think assuming that they don't have any major holes to plug, which will probably be it, I think they're really in a prime spot to take best player available, which is super weird and kind of annoying. But what are your kind of intro thoughts before we go into maybe some of our favorite options for the Broncos, kind of the back end of first round?
Yeah, no, I think that you nailed it. As far as needs, I think wide receiver is a little bit more of a need for me personally. I think that we have some nice pieces. I think that we need a top dog. I'm hoping Pat Bryant continues kind of on that trajectory. We'll see. But I think that's somewhere I would kind of prioritize with J.K. Dobbins. The questions around him, his health, kind of generally. I think running back you have to look at. Again, though, like you said, we're looking at positions that aren't really kind of your high value positions in the NFL, at least right now. Your inside linebackers, your backs, your tight ends, your interior offensive line. But I think if you're picking at the back, if you have the opportunity to get the best of those guys at that position, then I think you might see the Broncos do that. Any guys that you are kind of keeping an eye on, anyone that you like for the Broncos, or if they fell to that spot that you'd be excited about? Let's say, anywhere between, hopefully, at least 26 and 32, but hopefully more like 28 and 32.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. What are you asking me?
Oh, sorry. I was saying anyone that you would like to see fall to the Broncos in that range.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have this pulled up on USA Today, kind of put them together. So CBS Sports, Broncos taking an offensive lineman, Pro Football Focus, linebacker, ESPN wide receiver, USA Today, edge / D lineman. I just think it's funny. Like all of, like we said,
Yeah.
I would really like, it's hard, man, because off-ball linebackers, ideally you can get second, third round.
Right.
There's some really good ones, I think, if they land. CJ Allen from Georgia, I think would be a tremendous get, assuming, to be honest, that the Ohio State guys are taken. I think they need youth in that position. I think Justin Stroud's been great. Alex Singleton's been great. One of them will be back. And like the baton needs to go for the next great inside linebacker. And I think we've done ourselves a significant disservice at Broncos Parkway, powered by Common Spirit. Yeah, I think I nailed it. By really undervaluing that position. Then you got to go out, spend a bunch of money on Dre Greenlaw. We've seen how when he's on the field, it's great. Can't be a guy, I think, that you will feel good about being kind of the guy, the only guy, really. And so, and even when his contract is going to go up in a couple of years, I think you want to be able to have kind of the next green dot. So, CJ Allen is a guy that I would really like the Broncos to be able to evaluate. And then Olive Vega, because it's a and then Vega. Ione. I'm sorry about your name. We talked about him before, 330-pound interior offensive lineman. I think I would really like them to prioritize the offensive line. They haven't drafted a tackle since Garrett Bowles. I wouldn't mind, even if it's a guy that's going to sit on the bench for a year, to get a guy that has really good starter upside. Because we've seen what happens when you have a good offensive line, and you've seen around the league when you don't. And so those would be two guys I think maybe that I would want to target at the back end of round one.
Yeah, no, I like those. Those are good picks. It's a funny draft in the way that the positions of value not really your top. Like you don't have the top prospects at those positions. I think it's kind of a weak offensive tackle class. It's kind of a weak cornerback class. The edge rushers that are, for the most part, that are at the top kind of are systematic fits more than anything else. And so I think you may see more of those lower value position guys go higher because they are better upside athletes maybe than some of the more traditional first round pick guys. That being said, I really like a guy like Casey Concepcion, a wide receiver out of Texas A&M. I think he would be a fun addition to this offense. I think he's someone that I just like the way he plays. He's sure-handed. He gets upfield. He's great. Kind of if a play breaks down, he knows where to find space in the defense to get himself open. He's a guy that I really am kind of keeping an eye on. It'll be interesting to see if he moves up. He's maybe not the most explosive athlete, but I think he's one of those guys that you could play out of the slot effective. And then I think there's a number of guys that are tackles that could be an interior offensive lineman. I'll go with one of my Ohio State guys. I think Austin Servold.
Okay.
He's playing tackle right now.
Yeah.
But I think he's more of a guard. I think when they brought him in, they expected him to play guard, and he kind of won the job. And so I think he's a guy that I think you're not really reaching if you.
But I like that. I do think I would rather get outside in guys.
Yeah.
I like that. And sorry, I got excited about your Ohio State guy, which is just lame. Getting guys that thrived outside, I think that usually are going to be more plus athletes, can handle the pass rush a little bit better. It's much easier to do that and kind of project that than inside out. Asking a guard in college to be a left tackle in the pros, not great, and usually doesn't work out well, usually kicking him in. I think that's always a really good place to land because at minimum, it's a guy that probably can contribute as maybe a swing tackle, has some versatility, more options to stay on the roster longer. So especially if you look at getting a guy a bit later in the draft, looking at it from that perspective, I think is super important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a spot, when you're in that place in the draft, especially if you're, one of the last 4 teams to pick, it's a good opportunity to trade back. And it may be a scenario where, with this draft class, you feel okay about trading back into the second round and picking up a running back instead of, maybe an edge rusher that, has a little bit of upside, but maybe isn't consistent. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage that, how they kind of, how they I can't think of the word, but how they figure that piece out.
Yeah.
Navigate. That's the word.
How they settle it. What? Yeah, navigate. How, really quick before we go on for the rest of the stuff, what position or what would you want them to not? That if their draft pick was, and obviously things change, but a little bit like Jahdae Barron, that was probably the last thing that we thought the Broncos were going to take. What would be the thing that makes you throw the remote? Barring a quarterback.
It's funny.
Early, but.
I think that I like the idea of wide receiver, but I have to be the right guy. So I think there are a number of receiver guys. I kind of bubble first, second round guys. I'm not as excited about, and I think that would make me maybe upset right now.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I think you're going to draft, especially even first or second round. I think it's got to be a guy that you feel like will come in day one and ball out. And one reason why I'm not a fan of some of the guys that they have projected, in some of the mock drafts is we have those guys already.
Right.
Concepcion, I like, but is he better than Marvin Mims? Can he be what Marvin Mims maybe was never able to realize? I want to be able to, if they're going to draft a receiver, they got to have a better plan than what they've done with Marvin. Because I think you got Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, Cortland Sutton. I think your big receivers are going to be here for a while, and they're in that big archetype. I think you need the complementary receiver. I think Marvin could be that. But even if he's not realized, and I think they need a really good explosive route runner. I'm not just a guy that will take the top off, but I think a guy that has more tools in the toolbox for sure.
Yeah, I'm still a Chris Brazzell fan. I think he's has the opportunity to be good. I think he's a little raw. But if they wanted to take a flyer on someone like him, I'd be more excited. There's just some guys that I think that kind of are solid, fit kind of that NFL body type. And I think that people are hoping that they'll pop. And I'm not sure that I'm as excited about those type of guys. But yeah, I mean, this team does need a guy who can take kind of the top off an offense. But it's a matter of the utilization. Will that be something that is valuable to Sean Payton? You would assume so. But, to this point, it's not really how their offense has, that's not really what they focus on.
Yep. Yeah. Nailed it. All right. But with that, let's talk about Broncos are good at football, Bobby.
Pretty good.
They again won, which apparently they're making it a habit. Winning is a habit. Put it in there. Sorry. So winning a 10th straight game, workman-like approach against the Oakland Raiders. No, sorry, the Las Vegas Raiders. They haven't been good since Oakland. Let's keep it real.
Right.
And even though it was a 7-point score at the end, it was not really after. It really was never really in doubt. I don't know. Even when it was 7-7, it wasn't really. So we move on. Okay, going to have no doubt it's going to be promoted as the Super Bowl matchup potentially against Green Bay Packers. Is there anything you want to talk about the Raiders game that you feel really strongly about? Or are you good if we just jump into kind of what's ahead for
nothing
our boys?
Really. I mean, it's nice to beat those guys. It's nice to kind of break the the last couple seasons of struggle that we've had. When I say couple, more like, last 4 or 5 seasons that we've had struggled against them in division. So just nice to get that monkey off your back. But yeah, I think moving on to a team that is a little more challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. The Packers, who are on their kind of their own run, and come in at 9-3-1, I think second or third in the NFC, and bring probably one of the more talented rosters in the NFL. Haven't won in Denver in some time, so we get that. Not like, last time they played in Denver, most of these guys weren't born, I don't even think. But what do you think of the matchup? I kind of kick us off. I'll put our, usually I have us look a little bit about the matchup. Let's talk a little bit about offense. Broncos looked better last week. RJ Harvey, probably his best game as a pro. Bo Nix, minimum, I think, in production when it comes to obviously touchdowns and big plays, but very surgical in converting third downs and keeping the chains moving. So, thoughts? What are some of your pressure points for either Broncos win or Broncos loss based on offense-defense matchup for Broncos Packers?
Yeah, I think offensively, and I don't think it'd be any surprise to anyone. I think you've got to be able to establish the run game. I think that's something that they're really going to have to focus on now that, Dobbins is out potentially for the rest of the season. Good with Harvey the last couple weeks. Something that they're clearly trying to make a strength going into the playoffs, or at least not a weakness going into the playoffs. I think it's going to be important to win on early downs. I think it's going to be important to get in third and short situations. This team's been pretty good at that, especially the last couple of weeks. They find themselves in not too many long third and long, fourth and long situations. And so I think that's kind of where they need to put their focus. The more that you can kind of mitigate Parsons' pass rush a little bit, make him guess, make him play the run a little bit more, which he's pretty good at, but still you'd rather have him playing the run game than in the pass rush. I just think that, if you can kind of take care of things in the trenches, this game gets a lot easier for you on the offensive side.
100%. 100%. With a guy like Parsons, you really have to, or want to, he's got to defend for all 60 minutes.
Yep.
To your point, you can't have a guy like that being able to really gear up and know what you're doing. Because for as good as Garrett is, good as McGlinchey, I think Micah Parsons is probably better at his job than anyone else on the field on Sunday. And so with that, I think you got to have him game planned. Move your ego aside, Sean. If Nixon or Valentine, their lockup skills outside are the reason why the Broncos don't win, tip of the cap. Great game plan. Nice job, Packers. If Micah Parsons has a Khalil Mack performance from yesteryear against the Broncos, 5 sacks, game wrecker, that's unacceptable. So they have a good talent, good roster of talented guys, but they aren't impenetrable, and making those guys play by also being able to dictate the pace, then being able to run the ball. Mind you, I know it was against the Raiders, but the Raiders actually were, that was probably the better of the units and had been pretty respectable on the defensive side of the ball for most of the season. Patrick Graham is a really good coordinator, getting the most out of those guys. They play hard, all that good stuff. So you got to build off that again, and I expect that the Broncos utilize a lot of the formula from last week to be able to utilize that. They got to convert third downs. So I think you got to keep this defense on the field. You play to the altitude, right? They will be huffing and puffing for the first half, and you got to lean into it. So don't get cute. No 3rd and 1 flea flicker throwbacks. Not yet. Get in a rhythm. Make them have to defend you and honor all 11 guys on the field. And I think they can do that. for some reason, I don't know why, it's homer glasses or blah, 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 whatever. I think that the offense is getting it. I think Bo Nix over the last 3 weeks has looked like what we saw at the end of last season. Extremely calm, work in the pocket, making the right decisions. He's ran a few times when needed to.
Yeah.
And I think with that, he's really given me confidence that he's gonna be able to hold the water until RJ really gets his rhythm as a runner. And I think you saw it. And so I think that they'll build on it. I think that the Packers are pretty susceptible to the run. So even with Micah, he's a really great run defender and player. He's also not 290. And so I think if you can lean on him in the run game, it is inevitable that he'll wear down just for the sake of that. Because even the biggest guys wear down when you lean on them. So I expect them to be able to utilize that, take advantage of the play action. I think it's going to be a Marvin Mims game. I think that this is the week that they really try and let him loose over the top for a few plays. The punt return last week had some great plays the week before. I think they're starting to figure that part out a little bit. And again, he's the most explosive athlete that they have on the team. Why he isn't utilized more with more opportunities to do that, I'm not sure. But for them to beat a really good and rolling Packers team, I think that that's what they got to do.
Yeah. I think I want to point out, why do they have Lil Jordan Humphrey in a 3-person?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we all know. If I could switch it, that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, sadly, oddly enough, I think he played really, really well last week. I think he caught the ball when it was there. He gave them what Trent Sherfield couldn't, which is just kind of sad because in preseason, Sherfield looked to be the part, ended up being kind of a minus blocker. Special teams wasn't enough to kind of warrant that. And offensively, he didn't really produce much. So go with the girl that brought you. And Humphrey has been great blocker again, versatile, and has caught the ball, especially on those boot rollouts. Him and Bo seem to have a really good connection there. So
yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, let's move it defensively, which I think this one is probably the one that we all the people want to see. What is your initial thoughts, concerns, challenges heading in for the Broncos defense?
Well, do we know if Reed is going to play for sure? Have we heard yet? Jaden Reed?
I have not. I
think he was activated off injured reserve, but I don't know if he plays. I think it helps them quite a bit. I
agree.
They've really struggled to find kind of their over the top primary receiver. There's been opportunity for Watson. Watson's had some moments. He's actually played pretty well this year. Dobbs has had a few games where he's played well. Matthew Golden has been pretty disappointing, I think, for them for the most part. This season. You draft him in the first round. It's the first time in years and years that they draft a wide receiver in the first round, and he's just not really broken out at all. Reed did play last week. Okay, sweet. I didn't see that. I still like the Broncos defense against this offense for the most part. I think that this offensive line is not the best. I think against our front and our pass rush crew, I think they're going to struggle. I think you've really got to key in on the run game. I think first and foremost, you've got to focus on kind of putting them behind the chains a little bit. And this team should be able to do that. I'm hoping DJ Jones will be back. I know that he sat last week. It looks like he's been practicing. Yeah, and I think that's not having Kraft for them is big for us. I don't know that we have a fantastic coverage linebacker on the roster currently, so them losing Kraft is big for us. But I also think that Love is a guy that if you put him in high pressure situations, if you put traffic, or if you put like traffic around his feet, that sort of thing, I think that he can struggle. And I think we've seen that this season thus far. He's a guy that I think can have some really great games, but he's also a guy that I think can go out there and feel really stymied at times. And part of that is due to their offensive skill position play, and some of that is due to decision making. But really kind of up and down the roster, I think Reed kind of provides the most challenge for you on offense. And Jacobs tends to play well against the Broncos, at least when he was with the Raiders. But otherwise, I think really in the trenches, you feel good. I think in your secondary, you feel pretty good. Hufanga will probably play a little bit more towards the line of scrimmage, which is kind of where you like him to play anyways. And I don't know. I feel confident about this matchup. It feels like we're kind of the team that matches up really well against what this team does.
I agree. I think the ability to be able to contain the play action boot in the zone, the zone concepts is going to be pretty imperative. I think not having to sub out your best pass rushers to defend the run. I think Nick Benito isn't Reggie White, but he's no slouch when it comes to that either. So I think that's a huge positive. I'm looking at it right now I think DJ was back practicing today. So something to note, but also to note that looks like the Broncos have activated Ben Powers to practice. Okay. So he's got his 21-day window starting now, which is interesting. And Pat Bryant did work on the side field, which makes me feel a little bit like he might be a maybe. Nate Atkins is back. So that's great. So I think, having DJ back for the run, like you said, I think really gives this team what's needed to be able to defend it. I think this could be a fun matchup. Broncos D against Packers O. Jordan Love has played well as of late. But again, I think to Chris's point, and maybe a few years ago he got really hot and played super good football, and he thought that was going to translate long term. I'm not a Jordan Love guy, so I think if they really sell out, make sure Jacobs doesn't beat him. I really like their chances. I would assume that Pat will take Watson, who since he's come back, he's looked really, really good.
Yeah,
and then I think you feel good probably about your Moss Dobbs matchup, and Jaquan has balled out. I think Jalen Reed is a good player. I think if the Broncos have a plan for his speed over the top, I really like Jaquan being able to manage him underneath in the short and intermediate routes, and their offensive line hasn't played as good as you would think, and I think everyone really outside of Tom. So I think Nick Benito and Cooper, or whoever's lined up on the offense's left side, is going to have some real good opportunities, as well as their right guard Belton, who is a rookie and has struggled some. And I think it being loud in this environment, the Broncos have a real opportunity to match up real well and come out on top. So with that, then predictions. What you'll take, dog?
Yeah, I'm going to predict another win. I know it's hard. My analytical brain wants to say, all good things come to an end. Streaks don't usually last into double digits, especially in the NFL. Yeah. But my heart tells me that this roster is just better. It's just better. Yeah. It's just a better roster. I think this defense will stymie Jordan Love. And I trust our defense over what they can do on the offensive side of the ball. For that, I will say it will be a 24-17 win.
Oh, dang. Look at you and Chris, like almost simpatico even.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah. It'll be a one-score game. Stop me if you've heard this before. I think the Broncos will come back in the fourth quarter. Stop me if you heard this before. And pull out a gutsy win. I agree. I think this would be one of those games where I feel like if they lose this game, they're still in good position because it's an out-of-conference game. And so you're not really losing ground necessarily to your AFC foes because of the lack of tiebreaker when it comes to that and the impact of. That said, I think this is kind of playoff-y, right? It's two teams that are not just vying to get in the playoffs, but seeding and believe that they'll make a solid run. So I think you're going to get the best of both teams. And right now, I just think there's something about this group that they will figure out a way to win. And we still haven't seen their best yet. I think I've seen the best of the Packers, at least, which is good. But I know what they can be, and the Broncos win while we all know that they have not played their best.
Right.
So super excited about that. I think the Broncos are going to win. I'm going to go with a 27-23 score.
Okay, I like it.
So I think that there'll be a little bit more offense, but a Broncos dub nonetheless. Before we go, what are we talking about Michigan's coach?
Oh yeah, he got the can.
Oh dang! No, I did not.
I mean, I don't think it's too surprising. They've kind of underperformed the last couple of years. I think he was kind of a beneficiary of some Harbaugh recruiting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So not too surprised by it.
Yeah. Brian Kelly, watch. I mean, this is probably more of the why. But all right, that's good. No, we didn't. And I appreciate Chris saying there's no chance that the Broncos scored 27 when they scored 24. Or in his opinion, that's how much they're going to score. One more field goal won't do it. Thanks, Chris, for your insight and all that stuff. But with that, we got to roll. Broncos win, no doubt. I think hopefully you all feel excited about that. So with that, I'm going to transition over to JT to CSL.
Thank you all. We appreciate you. We got to take off, but we will be back next week to talk more Colorado sports. But until then, be safe, be kind to one another, and if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire. So grab your crew, let's hit the show. My high sports symposium, let the good times flow.